All right, so we'll begin with our invocation meditation. Get really comfortable. It may go on a little longer than usual, just because Virgo is really the sign of the healer, really connected to the body. We can connect Virgo to a lot of kind of ancient goddess energy, Isis, Ishtar, Ceres. So we're going to kind of spend a little time inviting some of that energy in and just getting really nice and grounded. I've got a really nice big almandine garnet here in front of me. And this is a black tourmaline that I dug myself earlier this year. These are really good grounding stones. Garnet gets you in your body. Black tourmaline kind of helps you connect to the earth. So these are here as kind of an offering. Yeah, there you go. So this is, this little kind of crystal grid down here that you can't see. This is for everybody. Just know that energy is available to you as we close our eyes, feet on the ground or butt on the ground. Or if you want to lay down, that's fine too. And let's just start to tune in. And as always, start with your breath. Notice the exchange between your body and your breath. You don't have to make it happen. You don't have to force a deeper, longer breath. Just notice what's already exchanging. Taking in the new, the fresh, the clean, the unsullied, and releasing the old, the stale, the stagnant. And as you attend to your breath, just start to spread out inside your body. If you feel yourself quite imprisoned in your head, on your next inhale, just sink your mind like you were taking an elevator down into your heart. And on your next exhale, see if you can sink from the heart into the belly. And from the belly, from this womb-like space, no matter your biology, we all have a womb here. And from this womb, we can start to spread out down the legs and out into the arms and the fingertips. Just seeing how fully you can inhabit your body, this sacred vessel that contains all of you. And letting yourself be sensitive and vulnerable to whatever wisdom, messages, or even discomfort that exists as you breathe more deeply and fully, as you take up greater and greater space within yourself. And from within these sacred vessels, our bodies, let us now begin the process of gathering up any of ourself that is not here at this moment. So begin to call out to the parts of yourself, your energy, your presence, your power, and your authenticity that are scattered throughout time and space. And invite them all back to you now. 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 Wherever you might be wrapped up in other people, places, things. Entangled in the past or the future. Events. Ideologies. thought patterns. Call all of yourself back. And let the soft animal of your body receive this energy, these aspects of yourself that you have every sovereign right to be in possession of. And this is what we call arriving. Giving yourself permission to arrive here today. In your body, together with all of us here at this time. And as we feel ourselves arriving, let us now acknowledge the sacred space that we intend to open up. Because the truth is, all space is sacred. It's just waiting for you to notice. And so let us notice the spirits of the land where we are. Let us notice the trees and the rocks and the bugs and the birds, the rivers and the streams and the mountains. Let us notice all the spirits of the living beings that are not human. And let us give them some respect. The weather spirits, whatever the weather holds for you. And I would be remiss to not mention the great fire spirits that are making their way through California. And even if we can't understand the medicine that they bring, we acknowledge their power. And we humble ourselves before these greater energies, reminding us of our place in the great family of things. And we acknowledge the first peoples of the land on which we live. And we acknowledge that we are not the first peoples. We are here by the grace of those that came before us. Those that knew how to be in relationship with the land, how to plant and tend and harvest. And now let us officially open up this circle here, this great, big, beautiful circle that holds all of us and room for those that are coming. And let us place in the center of our circle a big, beautiful fire that illuminates and warms, that ignites our spirits, that holds us together. And perhaps you want to visualize where this circle is happening, maybe in a forest somewhere, or in a field of wheat on a beautiful beach. Maybe we're a big circle in your living room. But into this circle, let us now humbly and earnestly call in the Great Mother. She has so many names: Ishtar, Isis, Ceres, Mother Mary, the goddess herself, inviting in this energy of supreme nurturing, tenderness, fertility, and growth. And let yourself feel her arriving. To see her or sense her, however your intuition guides. And to this great mother, we ask that she might inform our proceedings here this evening. Teach us how to be good mothers to ourselves. Teach us how to be good custodians of this planet. Teach us unconditional love. And resource us well so that we might feel that true divine love of which you are the source. And let yourself invite her in, maybe into your heart or into your belly, into your third eye. Maybe she even has a message just for you that she whispers in your ear, or a vision that she shows before you. And we ask her to hold court here this evening. And in addition, let us finish by calling in and calling on any other divine presences that wish to be present, be they spirits of planets, signs, deities, luminous ancestors, angels. Fill up this space with radiance and wisdom, healing and love, so that we might be made better for it. Show us what we need to know. Show us how the heart can grow. As above, so below. The circle is open. Just take a few moments to stay inside yourself. Let yourself be shifted. And remember the body, stay in the body. And slowly come on back. All right.
You weren't kidding. That was supersized.
It was supersized. It's the Virgo Pisces polarity.
Pulled me in.
So to me, when I was just kind of meditating on how to open up the space tonight, you know, Virgo is quite physical, but deep in the physical nature of Virgo is the invisible world of Pisces. And there's so much available to us in Virgo season in terms of spiritual healing and opening up to your gifts and really connecting to that unconditional love that Pisces is known for, but Virgo's got it too. So I might talk a little bit more when we get a chance about like Ceres and really, you know, Virgo as the sign of the harvest and what that really means. But I could talk about that all day. So I think we'll get to the actual astrology, and then if there's time, I can wax poetic about Virgo.
Well, I think all of it's important to understand. So Funnily enough, though, we are actually not in Virgo season yet.
No, it's still Leo season.
Yeah, Virgo season doesn't actually start until
Sunday,
Saturday,
I
right?
think it's Sunday,
Sunday.
depending
So,
on where in the world you are.
yeah, it's, I believe, Saturday, Sunday. I think it's Saturday here, LA time.
I'll check my ephemeris right now.
But so we are still technically in Leo season, the very end of it, which why,
Saturday morning. Angel's right, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
7:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say that, the Leo still has its like theatrical elements.
Fair enough.
It is also where ritual began, is in Leo, because Leo rules the theater. So I felt like that ritual had a little bit of
a theatricality to it.
I loved it.
I guess
so. But we're here to talk about Virgo. But we will talk about Leo too, because there's still some Leo stuff going on. But yes, the sun will enter Virgo on Saturday. And I think the best stuff to know about when the sun moves into Virgo is that, we all take on a bit more of a practical approach to our day's proceedings. Virgo is really interested in the details, interested in work. There's a practical nature. Virgo is an earth sign. So yeah, there is a connection to like tangibility. So you come out of Leo having sort of, been sparked to creativity, wanting to make things, utilizing your creative expression. And then Virgo's like, okay, now how do we take all of that and actually put it to use every day? How do we create a routine around that? So I think the good thing about Virgo season is that it is a time for us to, really plug into, okay, what's the routine that I need right now in life to just better support who I am currently, where I'm headed. To me, it's no surprise that, Virgo season is, traditionally when it's like back to school time, because for both parents and kids, it becomes suddenly this like, all right, now we have to get back into this routine, or we have to structure a new routine for ourselves. So,
and what's more Virgo than like office supplies? I always remember like going back to school meant like going to Staples and like buying your notebooks and your dividers and like the organization of everything, which is like so Virgo.
I know. And being an Aries, myself with a Cancer moon, it was like probably the only time of the year where I was like excited by like tab dividers and things of that nature.
Yeah, you're trapper keeper.
Right. So yeah, it is a time to really start to like, look towards like organization, to try and like, again, like get a little more practical. But I do think the best way to go about that is routine. And, just from a human place, I think we all on some level, I'm sure, have like had to learn how to establish new routine for ourselves and for those that we share lives with, So at this point, it's a good time to be checking in on, okay, well, what in the routine is working? What is not working? Because the sun moving through that lens of Virgo is here to try and support you in establishing a more, I want to say, healthful routine, because Virgo does rule like health and wellness as well. So Virgo is like also interested in, okay, well, how are you just even like taking care of your physical being? Like let's find ways to do that.
Yeah, she's the sign of the harvest. And you don't harvest everything, right? Like you have to separate the corn from the husk, the chaff from the wheat. I mean, I'm not a farmer, so I can't speak too much to this. But I do know that like I do want to be a farmer. That's part of my evolution for sure. Mm-hmm. It's my Taurus North Node. But like that's Virgo. It's like, okay, well, I can't use this, get rid of it, but I can use this. And that's what harvest is about. We want to harvest the things we can use and then eliminate the things that we can't. So there's a sense that like, there's a discernment. I think that's a really good word for Virgo season, is using discernment. And maybe you can't, implement the 90-minute yoga routine every morning, but you can do 15 minutes of poses that you really like. That's what you're harvesting. You're harvesting what works for you. Mm-hmm. Because you want to be able to do it every day.
Yeah, and I think, Virgo can sometimes get a bad rep because I think people tend to focus on, the over analytical elements of Virgo, or, Virgo has a tendency to be known as like the worrier, and there is some elements of that because, well, Virgos are very much, interested in being of service. They want to take care of others in some way. So there can be an anxiety that comes with that, right? When you are tasked with taking care of another person, it's like, am I doing it right? Like, am I doing a good job? And it's easy to get caught up in that. Virgo's like a really unique sign in that it's an earth sign, but it's traditionally ruled by Mercury, which is very much associated with air, with the mind.
Mm-hmm. We think of like Virgo's like the air sign of the earth signs for sure.
And that is because I think, it does, again, have some of those like detail-oriented elements, the organizational elements, but, it's all coming from it at a place of like practical usage. Whereas Gemini, who's the other Mercury-ruled sign, is like, I'm just going to think and analyze because it's entertaining.
Yeah, and like try it all on, you know? Whereas Virgo's like, well, I'm only going to try it on if I need that.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to try on that dress. I have no use for it, But that I'll try on because I have a thing coming up that would look good. That would maybe work for me. Practical. It's practical.
It's practical.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you know what house, and this is where we get in the house conversations, if you know what house Virgo rules in your chart, just know that that is the area that's going to really, the sun is going to illuminate, is going to say, okay, let's shine some light into this area. And perhaps if we do need to establish some better routine, that house is kind of the doorway into it.
Totally.
So what house do you have Virgo ruling?
My 6th house, my house of day to day. So it's all about routine for me. Mm-hmm. But, the question that we like to associate with Virgo, because each sign gets a question to kind of guide it, is like, what am I for? Yeah. Like Virgo in the sense of service, like what am I for? What am I here for? Like, how am I to put my life in service of something greater? And so for me, my daily routine is what allows me to do that. Like I can't, like if I don't do my breath work or my Qigong or any of the number of grounding practices I have, because I'm an Aquarius, so I have a bunch and I use different ones every day. But like if I don't do something, I'm not able to be of service. I'm not able to sit here and like channel information and connect with all of you. So for me, it's about like day-to-day stuff. Like that's how I'm most of service, is when I can service myself first and then be able to be of service to others.
Yeah.
But for someone that might have like Virgo ruling their 11th house, it's like groups, like being of service in large groups and communities. And maybe you need to be, working with larger groups or organizations that can kind of help you feel of service. You're not supposed to do it alone, Yeah.
But it is work. And
it is the season of work. Beyonce, our most famous Virgo, knows how to work.
She don't stop working.
She never stops working.
So to me, that is like an important thing to always keep in mind about Virgo, is that it does become a time of like, all right, it's time to get back to work. And so even if we have been steeped in work, we're like, really? Like, I'm already
more
working.
Work?
Yeah. Then it becomes about, okay, well, how do you better structure your day so that the work isn't overwhelming the whole thing?
And that your soul is in your work. That it's not just like, it's like your soul's work, right? Like work can be play when it's what you really feel compelled to be doing. Mm-hmm. And so we work hard when we remember what we're really working for. So it could be a good time, Virgo season, just to ask some of those deeper, slightly esoteric questions. Like, what am I working for? Who am I serving? And why? Because it's a little bit of air. It's Mercury, which wants to ask these sorts of why questions. And it's also Chiron. And Chiron is the other ruler of Virgo, who is an asteroid or a dwarf planet that rules, kind of Uranus and Saturn, kind of orbits between them. And so we think of Chiron as the archetype of the wounded healer. And so Virgo also, to me, has this reputation of being the sign of the healer.
Mm-hmm.
Like the virgin is really not about like someone who's never had sex. It's about like the people that tended the temples, the virgins, the priestesses at the temples, the purity and of energy, being able to be healers, to bring people into alignment, to be in alignment with the season. And so there's also a really great invitation for healing in Virgo season to kind of touch your own wounds and move into them more deeply to discover how you can heal yourself day to day. Like, what is it you can do every day that will bring you more towards healing and less away from the wounding?
Totally. Yeah, it's like, how do you use your wounds for good?
Yeah.
You know?
And that's Chiron.
All right. So I think the, here we have a question.
Let's see, Ali, would this self-healing also apply for Virgo, right? 100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think that's actually that's a good example, or a good way to give an example is that, yeah, if Virgo is your rising, so then, you know, we're looking at this like everything we've been talking about, but just from a healing perspective, like we're healing those first house elements of ourselves. So it's even like I'm healing parts of my identity, you know, I'm healing around parts of even my personality that, you know, maybe like I beat myself up around or things of that nature. I overanalyze.
Yeah. Because it's interesting because Virgos are the sign of the healer, but they can also be the most self-critical.
Oh, yeah.
There's this sense of like, you know, sometimes missing the forest for the trees. But high vibe Virgo is understanding that it's about alignment. I really think about the spine. Even like, you know, in the past when I would teach yoga or Pilates, it's like, I don't need somebody to get everything right. I just need them to be in alignment. And if they're in alignment, then it's fine. If like, you know, the hips aren't entirely square or this, it's like, we don't got to get caught up in all those details so long as the spirit of alignment is there. And that's a lot about what healing is too.
Yeah.
Plugging into that source and trusting the process. You're telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and paired with other stuff we have going on this, you know, through the course of this season, yeah, I would say like this Virgo season is very synonymous with don't beat yourself up season, you know, like super important that
take
you're not doing
really gentle but diligent care of yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Slow, but don't stop.
Yeah.
So I think like, you know, one piece of that kind of amplifies this energy is kind of, I mean, there are a couple big things going on during this Virgo season, but I'd say the biggest one kind of happens right at the top of it.
Let's not bury the lead here.
Next Monday. Virgo season does not bury the lead.
No.
So next Monday, we have Mars in Aries squaring Saturn in Capricorn. And this is a big one because...
She big.
Well, it's a big one because it's going to happen 3 times total. If you joined us for our previous webinar, we talked about Mars and how it was squaring a couple other planets. It squared Jupiter, it squared Pluto. So this is a good time to just kind of talk about sort of the bigger picture of everything. And I actually really want to make sure that everyone sort of has a good understanding of what's going on in the Capricorn sphere of their lives, because it's been literally the main story for this year. So Saturn and Pluto, and I was thinking about this earlier. I don't know if we have people in here who watched Big Little Lies, but I was really like I was able to apply like all of the planets currently to like characters in Big Little Lies. Maybe I'll just put together a meme and I'll share it so that those who watch the show can get it.
That sounds good.
But yeah, but basically like Saturn and Pluto, if you watched it, are like Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman. Like they're like the 2 kind of main characters of the show. And you know, you have Saturn, who is like, I'm here to create structure, I'm here to make you take responsibility, I am like here to like get you to adult, but also kind of like here to make you face some of your biggest fears and your limitations as well. Then you have Pluto, who is like the master transformer. Like we're here to shift things, tear it all down, and build up something new. So Pluto and Saturn coming together, it's like we got to tear down the old structures that aren't working and lay foundation for new ones. And, you know, the two of them, their story began in late December, early January, you know, mid-January is when they really came together. And it's been the story of this year. They've been kind of dancing around each other through the back half of Capricorn all year. So this entire year has really been like that headline of, you know,
the disillusionment of all the structures we thought were infallible.
exactly.
And everything's been touched.
And either you are going to face that and start to rip the shit down, or you're going to be like, I don't know, and that's scary and this, and pull away from it.
Yeah.
Jupiter came along and joined them, Shaylee and Woodley, for those who watch Big Little Lies.
Oh my God, this is so good.
And also kind of supported the whole process and was like, I'm here to kind of like build this up even further. You
Make
know?
it a little lighter to some degree.
To some
bring
degree.
Some optimism.
Yeah, but also kind of blow the shit up.
But also make more of a mess.
Yeah, make more of a mess, because I'm here to like, you know, kind of like brighten the light around it all. So, oh wait, I think you missed something. This needs to change too. So we got to figure this out. So I think, interestingly too, Saturn is the Lord of time. So it's also just like, what have we literally been like laying for foundation for quite some time? It had been since 1982 that the two of them had actually been together. So really it was like on a larger scale, like shit that we have like had in place since the early 80s for those of us who've been around, but you can kind of look at it that way. But yeah, so all of this was coming together to really have us take a look at that Capricorn area of our lives and really see like, okay, what structures have we had in place in there and how are they not working anymore? They're probably not working. So what do I need to like rip down and begin again? And again, Jupiter comes in and wants to support that process. It wants to help grow that process. Jupiter's all about abundance. So it's like, let me kind of help build this up. If we're going to make the change, I'm going to come here, I'm going to hold your hand through it. But if I'm going to be afraid of the change, Jupiter's like, oh, well, let me support that then. If that's what you want to do, then like, let me help bolster that fear up. So there you have all of those three kind of working together. So I think it's really important just in general to know that like, that is huge transformation energy. It's like, we want to transform in some way in that area of your life. Al, we're getting to Laura Dern, don't you worry. So I think it's really important for everyone to just have some real understanding of their Capricorn house. So if anyone has a chart available, I'd just be curious, like what house do you have Capricorn ruling, if anyone wants to share? Cool, so L has 7th. So, you know, what that does is then it kind of says, you know, so I don't know if you, do you know what degree by any chance? And if not, it's okay, we can play.
What degree starts?
What degree it starts at. And if not, it's okay. I'm just curious. Are you trying to help?
Yeah, I'll see if I could let her screen share, but I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, no, and it's okay. I don't want to like make this too overcomplicated. But basically what that, don't worry about it. So basically though, what that's saying is that area of your life and is asking itself to reevaluate, you know, the way that you have laid structure in your one-on-one relationships, which is the 7th house. Oh, 13 degrees, you did it, see? So that's perfect. So that's actually, so all of this action is for sure happening in your 7th house. So in your one-on-one partnership house. You know, so it's literally like at the start of this year, leading up, well, you know, the end of fall into the beginning of this year, it was like, all right, yo, like the way you've been approaching relationships, maybe it's not working, you know, maybe we have to tear it down. Maybe we've had some structures in place in some of these areas, or maybe we need to approach them. We need to level up and approach them from an even more grown up, responsible place. You know, like we have to like take a little more responsibility in the way that we partner with other people. You know, like we have to kind of like be a bit more of the adult or of an adult in these situations. So this year has been all about like, you know, really taking a heavy look at that. Who am I partnering with? How am I partnering with them? But ultimately, because it's Capricorn, how are these partners supporting my long-term ambitions, my long-term goals? You know, am I selecting people? Am I partnering with people who really inspire me, who support, again, yeah, that big picture for myself? So that is going to continue. That, you know, we're still in it, and we're in this process all the way through the end of the year, through December.
Yeah, and I would just throw in there, it'd be curious for you, Elle, to maybe just look back and go like, yeah, the pandemic and all the challenges, like how has this affected all my different one-on-one relationships? How has it evolved and grown and maybe illuminated like which ones are really important and which ones that I think were important that actually weren't that important and kind of fizzled out? Like it's helping you grow, because remember, it's all types of one-on-one relationships, not just who you're booed up with. It's like every friend, teacher, employer, like those intimate one-on-one relationships that are being restructured for you.
Yeah. You know, then, yeah. So for Jim in the 12th house, you know, then that's very much about like spirituality, your relationship to spirituality, how you approach spirituality, taking it more seriously, you know, really like, you know, yeah, being more responsible for your relationship in that place, you know, like has it, you know, gone more toward escapism as opposed to now I'm actually going to like really go into a more spiritual place for myself, you know, and what supports, am I laying structures, routines in place that support my spiritual quest, you know, or my spiritual journey, you know, for you star, 4th house, family, you know, ripping down the structures that you've had in place with your family and starting over.
And getting rid of them, literally.
Exactly. So yeah, 2nd house would be how do I take responsibility for my money, for my worth, my value, how much I'm worth, what I'm worth, you know, all of those things. But even, yeah, but very much because Saturn's interested in like the day-to-day practicality of it. It's literally like money. Like what have our perceptions been around money? We got to change that. We got to transform it from the core. And Pluto is very interested in like, you know, coming from a soul level. So it's like, what's the shit we've buried in our subconscious and how we've been approaching things. You know, Hassan, 3rd house, it's how I think about myself and how I communicate myself, you know, and am I doing it in ways that support my long-term goals for myself? So as you can see, we can go, but I think it's good to just understand how these affect all the different houses. 9th house, Sarah, I have the same, you know, it's our beliefs. You know, what do I believe? What do I have faith in? And what do I like want to commit, like, you know, just my beliefs to? What beliefs do I want to commit to is really what it comes down to. It's a lot of commitment energy around all of this stuff. Yeah, 11th house then, you know, it's like, yeah, how I connect to the world, right? Community, organizations,
groups,
but also responsibility for that.
Technology. The 11th house can sometimes be like technology in the future a little bit. So it can also sometimes be about like, okay, I have to restructure how I'm thinking about the future.
Yeah. So here's where Laura Dern comes into play.
Finally.
Yeah, because, you know, all of this is going on. It's kind of happening, but, you know, it's been going off and on for like the last, you know, 6-7 months.
The last 2 seasons.
The first, you know, the first 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Then Laura Dern comes in, who is Mars, and basically is like, hey, we got to take action. We got to do some stuff. What's happening? Mars is the planet of action, of getting shit done.
Oh my gosh.
And Mars has come along in Aries, its home sign, and is like super excited, has ideas, wants to create new beginnings, is supercharged, and is forming what is called a square to all of these Capricorn folks. So a square is a bit of it's an antagonistic energy. It's a challenge.
Yeah. It's what's known as a stressful aspect.
Exactly. So you get some stress there. So what happens is that Mars, who's like, woo, I got ideas, I'm ready. Like I'm ready to start my life again. Here we go. comes and hits that square energy to all these folks. And again, it started, earlier in Leo season. And these squares start to hit, and it's like, whoa, slow it down, y'all. Like, what you don't know, Laura, is that there's been a murder. Is basically what it is. And like, we got to chill it out for a second. So, and it really then becomes too about like, we got to make sure that the new structures that we've been putting into place are actually working, that we've actually really paid attention and like done the proper kind of like personal excavation work to really get to the bottom of it. Again, like, and that's in those houses we were just talking about. It's those Capricorn houses. Like, have I really kind of like dug deep enough to really think about, okay, how am I working? Have I been paying attention to how it's been showing up in my life this year?
And also there are layers to that, right? Like that's excavation. Like you think you've gotten as deep as it goes, and then you're like, oh, and then a couple weeks ago you're like, oh, I didn't realize that trap door. There's more. Exactly. And that's kind of, if you've been taking those invitations of excavation, then that's that Mars-Pluto aspects that have been happening. It's like more, like really, like fuck. But that's, we got to clean it out.
Yeah. So Saturn, the way that Mars and Saturn square up, it's literally on like a practical, like just our real day-to-day life in just that way, you know?
It feels like obstacles. It feels like roadblocks. It feels like parameters and constriction. It feels like I want to do this. And it's like, well, do you have the permits? That's Saturn. Saturn's like, do you have the permits to do that? And Mars like, no, but like I'm ready to build the pool. And Saturn's like, well, you can't build the pool until you have the permits. And so it's like, it's a slow.
Brandon's really obsessed with the idea of having a pool.
Yeah, I really want to. And it's not going to happen for years. It's not going to happen for years, but it's okay. I'm just doing my due diligence.
Yeah. But no, that's it. Mars is ready to go, go, go. And Saturn is like, I don't know. Maybe not just yet. And Mars does not like to be told no. So Mars gets real pissy.
Like Laura Dern in Big Little Lies.
Totally. The best temper tantrums like ever captured on film. So, and it's interesting to think too that Mars is like a very youthful energy. It's really like the child of the zodiac. And Saturn is literally connected to like the parental, the authority figure. So it is really like, we're all this like excited children with an idea, and like, big Papa Saturn is like, go to bed. Like, you're making me crazy. And Mars is like, no, I got ideas. I got things to do. And like, wants to throw a fight, maybe throws a punch. And Saturn is like, holding at the head, like, swing all you want. Like, it's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because there's a problem there. And you need to fix that. Like, you just need to analyze that a little more. Again, why this is so good that it's honestly happening during Virgo season.
So we can get critical in a good way. Yeah. Use our critical eye.
So I think it's like really, as much as it's like can be very frustrating, it can feel really challenging on the surface. We have to always, try to look to the gift in it, right? Like, okay, what's the usable thing here? So what it is just like really telling you to like, okay, yes, get excited about the idea, but just know that it's not going to move like this. It's going to need that critical attention. And so again, I sort of said, one of the headlines of the season is it's don't beat yourself up season. Mars, because it gets tied up in a lot of ego, and it's in Aries, which again, it's home sign. So they're together. It's like me. And if we can't get what we want, I'm saying that because I'm an Aries, then we internalize it. We put it on ourselves. So that's just in the air for everyone right now. And again, Virgo can amplify that, right? Because it's mental. So it's important not to like internalize or use it against yourself here. And this is where we then look to the house where Mars is moving through, So that's where I'm trying to take action. That area of life is like where I'm trying to move stuff along, make things happen. So it's literally like a relationship between that house and the house that you have your Capricorn stuff going on in. So, Sarah had mentioned Cap rules your ninth, it as does mine as well. You may perhaps then also then be having this Mars Aries stuff happening in your 12th house, which is that spirituality house. So for me, it is a lot, Mars in 12th. So what that says is like, Mars is like, we're trying to have a spiritual awakening here. We're trying to like really just fully move in it. We're excited. We have ideas on how we're going to be like even a spiritual healer. Like I'm ready to do it.
Spiritual warrior.
A spiritual warrior, totally. I'm going to approach everything from this like soulful spiritual place. Like I'm going to be, but it's Mars. So it's like, I'm going to be the best spiritual person ever.
The best spiritual warrior there is.
And then here we have Capricorn, all these people in Capricorn being like, yeah, but do you really believe in all this stuff? Like you need to like really get clear on what you believe and make sure that you're connecting that soulfully to the stuff that you're working on in that 12th house, so it's all kind of up for review a little bit. So again, it kind of becomes a time to sort of slow it down. And we're going to talk even more about Mars because Mars has a big retrograde coming up, and that actually starts in this season as well. But already just to get the sense that like, know that like, energy has been trying to happen. We've all been like moving. And just collectively since Mars like went into Aries, it's been a lot of like, let's go, I'm ready. And what's going to happen is, especially around that retrograde, and we'll talk about it, we're all going to, the universe is going to be like, that was a nice start, but there were lots of problems in that. Like maybe a plan would have been a good idea. Instead of literally just like walking out the door, you forgot to put on pants. So I think that's like some of it. But just know that, this Mars-Saturn connection is going to happen 3 times. So we're kind of in this ping pong with it. It happens again on Monday. It happens the second time on September 29th. And it will happen the third and final time on January 13th. So on Monday, we're really kind of opening up this like portal of like a conversation between Mars and Saturn. It was like, again, if you really just like boil it down, it's like, let's take better responsibility around our actions.
And I think what's interesting, just to kind of track this story, is that the first time they square, Mars is going direct, but Saturn's retrograde. The second time they square, Saturn's going direct, Mars is retrograde. So there's like a cross wires. The third time they square, they're both direct. So to me, that feels like there's a happy ending at the end of this. Like there's an agreement, there's a resolution, there's actually like action that can take place. Like it won't all be for naught, but I think there's gonna be like a try once, try a second time, third time's a charm sort of situation that's happening. And Saturn will be in Aquarius, will be out of Capricorn, will be in Aquarius on the 13th of January when this kind of resolves itself, that closing square.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a better place. Saturn in Aquarius is a little bit more generous, is a little more innovative because we are in Aquarius, is a little less rigid as Saturn's going to be in Capricorn. So I think there's also like a little bit of acquiescing that Saturn will do in Aquarius, being like, you know what, I wouldn't have done it that way, but it works and I'll give it to you. Like that's kind of Saturn in Aquarius. Yeah. So that's kind of the story that we're tracking. So just know, like, if you've started something, if there are things that you're trying to get off the ground, it's not they're not going to get off the ground. It's just that like it's going to take some time, and there's going to be constant renegotiation. That's the word to circle here. Yeah. You're going to constantly be renegotiating. And that's okay. You know, it's going to work today. It's not going to work tomorrow. Keep futzing with it.
Yeah. And we already have a lot of retrograde energy going on right now. Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto.
Uranus.
Well, yes. Zoe Kravitz.
Oh, we get to Zoe. I was wondering who's Zoe Kravitz.
Uranus.
Yeah, totally.
You know, because Uranus was the one who kind of came in and like kind of adds the sudden shock. Which, spoiler alert, But, you know,
Yeah, that's all we'll say.
that character was very responsible for literally a sudden shock
A sudden shock
to the system. And Uranus moved into Taurus and really did kind of like, you know, I mean, earlier this year, but has been now retrograde. Since really recently, since this past week.
Yeah.
So already that's been kind of, Uranus rules some inspiration, some creativity in that space already. So already there was kind of like
chaos.
Ooh, yeah, like, whoa, let's kind of slow it down a little bit and start to take stock, you know, of how we're moving. And I think I kind of just want to do things a little differently. Normally we kind of just go very linearly, which I guess is very Virgo, but it's not Virgo season.
It's not Virgo season yet, so.
But we're talking so much about Mars. I think it's probably good to just talk about the Mars retrograde.
Let's just track Mars. Yeah, let's just track Mars.
Yeah. So that Mars retrograde kicks in on September 9th. So we're already in what's called the shadow.
Yeah, the shadow.
Yeah, which, you know, if you've been on one of these before, I always try to find the best way to describe a retrograde phase and a shadow phase, and never do a good job of it. I feel like you would do a good job.
Oh, I love my, yeah, should I talk about, okay. So you're going on a hike and you have a water bottle, okay? So you drop your water bottle. So like you're hiking and then you drop your water bottle, but you don't realize it. And you like keep hiking, okay? So that's all the pre-shadow. That's all the shadow. When you realize you've dropped your water bottle and you have to go back, that's the retrograde. You're retracing your steps, okay? But then you get your water bottle and you're like, well, I'm gonna go on this hike. Like, I'm not gonna go back to the car. So then you have to traverse that same part of the trail that you did again, now the third time, right? Because you did it once, you went back, you went third. And then you get into new territory. So that's essentially retrograde planets. They're gonna go over it 3 times. The first time, that's the shadow. Then they go back over it. That's the true retrograde. And then when they clear the shadow, it's when they're finally in new terrain. You get to where you dropped your water bottle. Now you have your water bottle and you keep moving forwards. Thank you so much.
That was beautiful.
The end of Leo season. I know this is a very performative webinar today. We're not trying. We're not like leaning into it, I swear.
It just happens.
It just happens.
So you're welcome. So basically, yeah, with that Mars retrograde, it is, again, to action. It's, you know, our Mars is how we get shit done. And in Aries, it's like, I want it now. But when that retrograde hits on September 9th, it's like, oh, but you can't have it now.
It's gotta go slow.
Yeah, like, so what it does, yeah, it's like Mars really just like slows its roll, you know, and all the new beginnings that we've put into place, they start to slow down, and they also start to come up for review. And more so, our actions start to come up for review. So if you're familiar with Mercury retrograde and how that works, it's like, oh, all the thoughts I had, the ideas I had, I have to rethink them. I have to, you know, replan, reorganize, blah, blah. With Mars, it's like I literally have to like react differently, you know, or I have to re-react. To re-react. So it becomes just some of that. And that retrograde will occur, again, September 9th and will last until November 14th. So it's a bit of time. Here in the United States, not the best time to be having a, you know, like slow moving situation occur, but we already all know that's going to happen. But look, it doesn't always have to be like a literal thing. You know, it's just know that like anything that you start during that retrograde time, so between September 9th and November 14th, anything you start during that time, just to be frank, will probably take twice as long to finish.
You produced a movie during a Mars retrograde.
I produced a movie during Mars retrograde that literally took twice as long to do. If you were listening to our podcast, you followed along, but that happened in 2018. Funnily enough, the movie is actually going to be coming out during this Mars retrograde, which I just find so fascinating. And normally movies don't have like that long of a like period between like when they're finished. I mean, if they actually get like a proper release and such, but we've been blessed to have that. But it's like so funny to me that it's almost 2 years to the retrograde date that our movie will actually be coming out. So to me, it literally took twice as long, but I've seen that in other, you know, like examples as well. Now, if you start something before then, that's not to say that that's the case. just know that there will be some, again, stop and start energy around it. So really good to understand where you have this Mars, what area, what house this Mars is moving through for you, because it is going to be a time to kind of try and slow down. Again, don't kill yourself trying to get things done. Let all the people who don't understand astrology do that.
Just let them.
There's going to be tons of them.
And just watch and laugh.
Watch and laugh. Or watch and pick up their pieces.
Fair enough.
Or their mess.
Yeah, be of service to them. It's Virgo season after all.
Yeah. But that's why it's going to be so important to try and like be in that place of like stillness. And I think Virgo is like a really good time to try and like practice more stillness.
Totally.
Even though it is like I got work to do, and like we can get in our heads about it and start to overanalyze. That's why it's even more important to like try to be like, okay, let me just be ahead of it all, and like we're in routine. So like, what's my meditation game? How am I up in that? My stillness game, my silence game, like all of that stuff.
My yoga game.
Dialed up.
Yeah. Well, the tarot card that rules Virgo is the Hermit. And so the Hermit is that inner teacher, that inner wisdom. And so I think we can kind of look to that for another kind of interpretation of how to engage with Virgo.
Yeah. And I think just an interesting component off of Brandon's shadow explanation is to know that the shadow phase, it began in late July. I don't think I wrote. It was the last week of July, like the 25th. So that's when we dropped the water bottle. It was on the 25th of July. So basically everything that has happened between all the actions we've taken between then and now, some of that stuff will come up for review. Again, that's where you can kind of plug in those like just those retrograde things. I got to review, I got to renew, I got to reassess, but it's more action oriented.
Yeah. And I would say, so you want to know two things about Mars. You want to know where is Mars in the sky right now happening in your chart. So look to Aries. Where is Aries in your chart? But then you also want to look to your natal Mars, because that's how you take action. So like wherever you have Mars natally, it's important to get a sense of like, yeah, how do I take action? Like, do I have Mars in Libra? Do I have Mars in Scorpio? Is it in the 4th house or the 7th? It's because that's part of it. You need to know if you're going to review and renew and reassess how you take action. I have Mars in Aries. So this is all very like a little too close to home for me. But the idea, it's like a hat on a hat. But the idea is that you might, take action a different way. So this Mars retrograde is going to help you review how you take action innately.
Yeah, I have Mars in Pisces, which
is
like so opposite. So, but I'm learning how to be more assertive in my Mars and Pisces elements. Yeah,
totally. And yeah, Allie, Mars in Taurus is slow moving. It's very kind of like one foot in front of the other. It's Taurus, so it's the growing season, right? So things grow slowly until all of a sudden. Stop
and smell them flowers.
Until all of a sudden, there's the tomato.
Mm-hmm.
There's the watermelon.
Yeah.
Mars in Cancer is, it's taking action intuitively, emotionally. It's taking action with family in mind, with home in mind. It's looking for that kind of security. It's action for safety in a way. And interesting, Sarah, to have Mars in Virgo in the 5th, to have Mars in Virgo means that you take action through these kind of regimented, organized, slightly, mental ways. And in the 5th house, it's kind of creative. So there's probably a lot of creativity, but you do it in sort of like a regimented way. I almost think of like certain painters that, like work with like lines and square, like I don't have the name, but like Mondrian, right? Like very kind of regimented sort of painting.
Or writing.
Or writing for sure.
Yeah.
Formulaic. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. It really wants you to like be paying attention to that. And again, the square. So it's like, how are we structuring the way we go about our Mars too? Mm-hmm. Like, do we need better structure? Do we need better routine? Do we need to take more responsibility with that Mars area of our life as well? Gosh, for me, it's all spirituality.
Surprise, surprise.
My gosh.
Mars in Scorpio, 10th house. Okay. So Mars in Scorpio, You know, Mars is one of the co-rulers of Scorpio, so taking action in like an all or nothing sort of way. We take action kind of under the covers, passionately. And in the 10th house, it's like around career stuff. So it's up for review how you've been taking action in your career, and there might be a sense that like there's a redistribution.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of, wherever Mars is going to kind of like trigger where your natal Mars is. It wakes it up a little bit.
Exactly. The one little gift around all that too, wait, what was the margin 12th house again? Oh, Mars.
Oh, Mars in 12th.
Yeah, Mars in 12th is, well, that's that spirituality space. So
Yeah.
It's like, again, yeah, that spiritual warrior. Like, how am I like really taking action through my connection to, yeah, just like spirit, soul? Like, how am I?
Yeah. Because just, I mean, an easy way to do it is just Mars is the god of war.
Yeah.
So wherever Mars is in your chart is where you're going to go to war. So Mars in Cancer, you're going to go to war for your family and your home. Mars in the 5th, you're going to go to war for your creativity.
Yeah.
Mars in Scorpio in the 10th house, you are going to go to war to the death for your career, you know,
Yeah.
or for how the world sees you, or for, you know.
Yeah. So in a way, yeah, we're all kind of going to war for our own transformations, you know, in the second half of this year. Like, all right, like, I'm gonna like leave my old life behind, and like it's not gonna be cute, but I'm gonna come out a gorgeous butterfly. You know, and I think that's all stuff that's happening on a global level as well, right? On a world level, we're all kind of like seeing this big fight happen for transformation, and it's not easy.
And it doesn't happen overnight.
No. And, you know, again, Saturn rules time. So Saturn will really like, Saturn also rules fear. So Saturn will drum up this like fear around the past, the fear around change. And so I think that that's just a lot of it. So all we can do on a personal level is, you know, fight for our own personal transformation, our own personal evolution, because, you know, we have to then be the best version of ourselves to show up for the other larger fights that are also going on around us. There's a little gift in all this too, is that on September 12th, Jupiter, who's been retrograde since May 15th, is going to go direct.
Yay!
And Jupiter again is luck, abundance, personal growth. So, you know, if you've been feeling a little like, where's
the wind?
Where's my money?
Yeah.
You know, like all of these things. Yeah, where's joy? Like, Jupiter comes along and kind of like eases some of that for sure. So, Lisa has Mars and Saturn.
Oh, wow. Do you know how close are they to each other, Lisa? Are they conjunct, or are they just like in the same?
They just hanging out.
They just hanging out together. Well, so, you know, just the 7th house, again, like one-on-one relationships. 1729. Okay, so they have their independence. They don't work as a unit. Yeah, but again, like warriorship in Leo is like, you know, fighting for yourself, fighting for your vitality, fighting for your creativity. And Saturn in Leo can sometimes be like, you got to take, like, it's sometimes feeling restrictive, or can be very critical of your own creativity and the way you express yourself. And so needing to take responsibility for it to kind of, to move through that, to overcome it.
Yeah.
I find that a lot, and it could be in the 7th house, it's like, all right, well, how do I not be so critical of myself in like what I need in relationship, or how I show up in relationship and express in relationship.
Yeah, how I express my own creative,
just
individuality in relationship.
And fighting for those needs. Like, you know, this is what it is. Either you can meet these needs or you can't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to apologize or couch them anymore.
Yeah. So all up for review. Consideration.
All right. I see we got 20 minutes
I know,
left.
we haven't even looked at the moons.
We got to get to the moons.
All right.
And of course, tomorrow you'll get the notes for, you know, there's There's always a bunch of transits every month because the planets are always moving. So we don't go through all of them, but we do have them, you know, with a sentence or two about what they are. So you can just, you know, look to those notes as you move through Virgo season and see what resonates for you and how to work with those energies.
Yes. But hopefully y'all can see this. Let me kind of bolster it up here if I can.
Okay,
But yeah.
everyone can see this?
Cool. So this is the chart for the Pisces full moon.
She's a beauty.
I think so.
Yeah, she's a beauty. Pisces full moon is one of the best clearing, releasing moons of the year. Like this is a really good moon to like, you know, everyone's always talking about like, let that shit go. But like Pisces full moon is like, you can let that shit go for good. Like bye. And like, I'm never going to see you again. Like period.
Yes, period. Yeah, and this up here is the sign for Pisces, just so you can see it up here. And here we have the moon. And that, as you probably know, yeah, the full moon is when that moon opposes the sun, who's down here in that symbol for Virgo. And it's happening at 10 degrees. So if if you can find where you have 10 degrees Pisces or Virgo, that's the polarity in your own chart where this is happening.
Mm-hmm. And some really nice aspects here with the sun at 10 degrees, trining Uranus in Taurus at 10 degrees.
Yes, Zoe Kravitz.
And Uranus in Taurus at 10 degrees, which is sextiling the moon. So there's this really nice kind of working aspect between inner and outer, and also like the new changes. That kind of like, sometimes chaos is a good thing. Sometimes chaos is how we know that we're getting to something new.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say this really like, this full moon is like really big around just like visioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like visioning, dream, inspiration, like.
Yeah, a Pisces full moon, like I would even say like 2 days before and 2 days after, keep a dream journal by your bed. It might be really amazing. But also like if you do have a yoga practice or a meditation practice or breath work, like you might be going deeper than you've ever gone before, because the energy of Pisces is it's the cosmic soup. It's the invisible world. So it can take you deeper than you've ever been before. And so it could also be like releasing some of your fear around what's in the dark, around what's invisible, and releasing some of the things that keep us from trusting and being in faith. Because Pisces is really a sign of faith. It's the cosmic consciousness. It's the oneness from which we all come. So wherever you've been in fear and not faith, this full moon can help you release some of that.
Yeah, and it can really be a good time to kind of check in on that larger transformation that you're going through, really like checking in, make sure that, have I let go of, and like you were saying, kind of any of the stuff that I just don't need anymore. Like really, let's just do it. Even just on a mental level, like ways of thinking, like that have been holding you back from fully accessing the transformation that wants to happen. And there's a lot of busyness too, there is still some antagonism as well around this. It's a good balance of both. But again, that Mars is still going to be, over here is still going to be challenging some of these Capricorn, these Capricorn folks who are all hanging out together, particularly Pluto and Saturn. And I'd say even particularly Saturn. But again, it's a challenge, right? That square energy is like, I'm challenging you to step into that transformation further. And right now it needs to happen on like a soulful visioning level, and on a mental level with Mercury involved as well.
Ritually, I would just say, with the full moons, I always say caution, a little goes a long way. It's a lot of energy. You don't necessarily have to put on a whole ceremony or 3-act ritual. You can just let it work on you. If you are feeling overwhelmed by all that cosmic water, then lean into the Virgo polarity and like get in your body and get grounded. But if you're feeling really free and like you're feeling liberated, then I would say like some sort of water ritual, especially around releasing, might be a really good idea. And a simple water ritual is just to find a body of water, a bathtub, a shower even, works. And the idea is to really exchange with the spirit of the water to release. If you want to take it a step further, A pool would be great, Al. Yeah, by all means. Oh my
Don't
God.
get 'em started.
Yeah, don't get me started.
We'll get you a hot tub.
So you can get some rocks. You can get some rocks or some stones. These don't need to be, I wouldn't use crystals. And you can put into these rocks the energies that you want to release, or stories you want to release, fears you want to release. And you rub the rocks on your body as you talk about the thing you're afraid of that you want to let go of, or the story you want to release.
And I actually want to add to that, the partnership you want to release, the relationship you want to release,
The energy of the other people that are stuck in you that
because
you
there
want
is
to
some
release.
partnership relationship stuff in this chart as well, and just for this season. So especially those of you who maybe are dealing with some 7th house stuff, like maybe to focus on that.
And then you take those rocks into the water. You throw them into the pool, you put them into the bathtub, one at a time, you let them be released.
Yeah, can you do the pitcher of water, Blaine's asking, like we did last time?
Yeah, I mean, you can always make full moon water. Pisces full moon water, that would be a good thing to have to like take a little sip of before you journey. Not that you need it, Blaine, because your journeys are already pretty powerful. But for those of you that like need a little like psychic boost, to make a little Pisces full moon water and to like take a little sip before you give your tarot reading, or
a shot
of your, totally it is Pisces season, so take a shot of it. Yeah, you could totally make full moon water. But that's not, you guys, this stuff is no joke, and you got to learn for yourself, and sometimes you got to learn the hard way. But like, you make this stuff and then it works and you're like, wow, like be careful. Don't be like those girls in The Craft, conjuring up what you don't even realize.
No.
But that's why he says like full moons they're intense. They're the peak of energy. So you want to be quite Virgo in terms of like really intentional about how you're working with it, if you're going to work with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just let it wash all over you.
Yeah. And this one is definitely one to be very intentional around, because there is a lot of energy at play. So focus it if you're going to do the work.
Any other questions about this full moon?
Yeah. Again, it's September 1st. At least that's LA time. It's 10:21 p.m. So it'll probably be September 1st or September 2nd, depending on
where in the world
you are. All right, cool. Now we have the Virgo new moon. Oh,
excuse me.
Right up in my ear with that.
Sorry.
All right. Let's pull this baby up.
So remember, our new moons are happening at the ends of the sign. So the Virgo new moon happens.
Yeah. What do you feel the weight of that is again?
That they're happening at the end of the sign?
Yeah.
I just think like, something fun that we do sometimes is we look at the degrees of the planets to give us an indication of the age.
Yes.
Of what's going on here. So, if you have a 6-degree Mars, you take action like a 6-year-old. No tea, no shade, but like that's how you want to do it. I have an 8-degree Mars, okay?
So do I.
Oh, there you go.
We're both 8-year-olds.
We're both 8-year-olds. So, when the full moons were happening, when the new moons were happening at the beginning, 0, 1, 2, these were babies. Like these were new spirits. So you're starting something new, but you don't really know what you're starting.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now with these new moons happening at the end, these are 25-year-olds, like 26-year-olds. There's some mastery here. You're not starting from scratch.
As much mastery as there is.
I know your 20s are a lost decade, but nonetheless, I should say my 20s were my first from 2025 was pretty much a lost decade.
Wow.
Then I met you.
Oh.
But the idea is with new moons happening at the end of the sign, there is a degree of mastery around how you're setting these intentions. You're clearer. There's an ability to be more specific about what it is you're actually initiating here. Because you've already had 3 weeks to be in the energy of the sign. You've been steeping in Virgo. So by the time the new moon rolls around, you're like, I'm ready to initiate some Virgo shit.
Yeah. So again, this is like if during Virgo season, we're kind of playing with the routines that we need, the habits that we need to let go of, and the new habits or the better habits we need to bring in. This new moon is the time to actually like really fully commit and activate to that routine. So you can kind of use the Virgo season up until September 17th to kind of experiment, do I like to take my walk in the morning or at night, or whatever, all of that stuff. And then come toward the end of it, then it's like, all right, now I'm going to like actually commit,
lock it in
to some of this business.
Yeah. Probably your natal chart, Blaine, but what are you asking specifically?
As far as where it shows up in your chart?
Yeah, natal. Go to your natal.
Yeah. But yeah, other stuff. I actually think this new moon really does support that sort of big picture transformation that we've been talking about. You know, the tearing down of the old structure, the restructuring, all of that business. So, you know, specifically, we're looking at Saturn here, you know, that planet of responsibility, of structure, of time to grow up. And it makes a direct, what we call trine in astrology, which is like the loveliest aspect you can get.
Really supportive.
Yeah. So that new moon is
harmony.
Yeah, is very much in harmony with that Saturn. So it's like, we can build this. We can do this. We can commit. If you're going to commit to this, I will support it.
Totally. And I will say, y'all, like we had a couple of months of some pretty rough moons. These are nice moons. These are really nice moons. So they kind of balance out some of the harder aspects that might be happening elsewhere. And remember that your moon is your heart. Your moon's your inner compass. It's how you tend to yourself. So nice that we're going to have a season to really be able to tend to ourselves in a way that feels supported and harmonious, even if we have to fight for it a little bit.
Yeah. And this makes me, does anyone have any more just specific questions around this new moon chart, or any questions about it?
It's an earth ritual, if you want to know. So you'd want to plant something.
Yeah.
You definitely want to plant something. And when I say plant something, it doesn't have to be something that grows. You could bury a crystal, you could bury a poem, but you want to tend to the earth in some way. And you would charge that thing that you're bearing with whatever your intention is.
Cool. So I think another element of this chart, but I think because this one does really like just encapsulate this season so well.
Virgo season is when people plant for the spring. No, gosh, I'm hopefully next year I'll be able to tell you that when I'm actually doing some farming and gardening. I just tend to my succulents, which are year round. So I don't know. Maybe
like harvest time.
So you harvest and then you replant. Maybe some crops. We need a farmer with the Farmer's Almanac.
We got a farmer up in here?
Because some crops are like, you can prepare the earth. Yeah, I think that's the sense. But for the earth ritual, like, I wouldn't say like use the earth ritual. You could, if you're in California, you could plant a succulent or something. But just the idea that you're putting the intention into the earth herself. And if you don't have earth, then like a little pot with some soil in it or something. Like an indoor plant will work too.
Yeah. But, I think I just want to, I know we're coming close to time. So I really want to just re-emphasize the themes of health and well-being. Just, looking at that Virgo new moon chart again, it really kind of amplified that for me, that message. And, this has been a rough ass year. And it has forced a lot of change upon a lot of us, but ultimately it was our soul just kind of meeting us, for the change that was needing to come along already. So I think what's important to consider around this large personal transformation that each of our lives is going through is, am I first and foremost building my own good health and like positive well-being, healthy well-being into the soil of my life? Is that being planted in there? Because everything we take forward from this point on should support our well-being. There should be no space for anything else, because we all came here to do our soul's work. And if we're mired down by some old just story BS that's been holding us down, granted, it may have in the past held some real weight for us, you know, around a relationship, around a career, around a project, what have you. But at this point, it is really time to kind of like say, okay, well, maybe even just holding on to what I've perceived as a failure around this, supporting my well-being, you know, is my beating myself up, supporting my well-being? Is this partner supporting my well-being? Like Virgo season.
Looking at me?
I don't look at you. You are always supporting my well-being. You know, but are these people, places, things, routines, habits fully supporting like the person that when I close my eyes and we talk about visioning, that I vision for myself being? This is the time to get kind of real and practical with ourselves and be like, all right, I've been flirting with getting rid of that habit, but I guess now's the time. Like, do I really need this anymore?
And that's when we lean into the Pisces polarity, which is like, you don't have to do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can ask for help from the spirits, from the earth. So are there any questions? Is there anything that's on your mind for these last just 2-3 minutes? We'll certainly send out tomorrow the notes and your list of dates and things to pay attention to, the charts for the moon. But any questions before we close officially?
Feel free. All right.
So let's just take a moment and let's just come back into that sacred body, eyes closed, sacred heart. And you might even place your hands on your belly. Virgo rules the stomach and the intestines and the digestive system. And just feeling the tenderness. And as we breathe into our bellies, just taking a moment of gratitude that we have these systems and the infrastructure to teach and learn and connect. Gratitude to all the astrologers that came before us, who bring us this legacy with all of its wisdom and healing, and power. I'm giving gratitude to the presence of the Great Mother. And as we feel ourselves growing in relationship with the Great Mother, it lets us be children. It lets us feel taken care of. That we don't have to do it all ourselves. I'm giving gratitude to any and all energies that were available here tonight, to the fire that united us, to each and every one of you for showing up with your vulnerability and your beautiful questions and sharing your placements and your attention.
Yeah, your vulnerabilities.
Gratitude, as always, to the spirits of the land, to the earth below, to the sky above, to our hearts, which sit at the center of it all. May you have a blessed and healthy Virgo season. This circle is closed.
And so it is. Y'all gonna have a fantastic Virgo season. Deemed it so.
All right, everybody. That's the Virgo season webinar. That's a wrap.
Yeah.
We'll see you when we see you. We've got breathwork happening this Saturday. We're really going to work with the Great Mother energy. We're going to call her in and breathe with her on Saturday. So I'm really looking forward to facilitating that. So if you want to sign up for breathwork, just send us an email, or there's a link on the website just to sign up, and we'll include you in that. And take good care of yourselves.
Yeah. Health and wellness. Do what you can.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Take
y'all.
care.